I would like to tell you a little story. In August of 1929, the United States entered into the Depression, and the stock market went into a total collapse in October of that year, 1929. The Depression continued, and it hit rock bottom at the end of 1933. The suffering during that period of time was unspeakable. This period was marked by massive unemployment, entire industries were shuttered, and hunger and homelessness were rampant throughout the country. One rancher, a Mr. Ira Yates from West Texas, was like many other ranchers and farmers of his day. He had a lot of land, and he had a lot of debt. Mr. Yates wasn't able to make enough on his ranching operation to pay the principal or the interest on his mortgage, and so he was in danger of losing his ranch. With little money for clothes or food, his family, like many others of those days, had to live on government subsidy. And so day after day, he grazed his sheep over those rolling hills of West Texas, and he was greatly troubled by how he was going to pay his bills. Then one day, a seismographic crew from an oil company came into the area, and they told him that there is the possibility there might be oil on his land. So they asked permission to drill a well, and he signed a contract. And at 1,115 feet, they struck a huge oil reserve. The first well came in at 80,000 barrels a day, and many subsequent wells were more than twice as large. And in fact, 30 years after that discovery, a government test of one of the wells showed that it still had the potential flow of 125,000 barrels of oil a day. And Mr. Yates owned it all. The day he purchased the land, he had received the oil and mineral rights, yet he'd been living on relief. A multi-millionaire was living in poverty. And what was the problem? He didn't know the oil was there, even though he owned it. The oil reserve was there all the time. He and his family were living in crushing misery year after year, and all the while, these massive reserves of oil were there all the time. And so here is the question. Are you Mr. Yates? Are you Mr. Yates? Are you living with less, experiencing deprivation, and not accessing all that you have available to you? Are you living a diminished life simply because you're not recognizing what you have with you right now? You might be thinking that you live in Newark, New Jersey, and what's good about that? You might be thinking that you don't have the ideal family. You might be thinking that you're not the smartest student in your class. You might be thinking that you're not the most gifted athlete in the school. And the list goes on and on and on. And all of these, they're wrong thoughts. For like Mr. Yates, you need to be thinking about what gifts you have before you that you are not recognizing. What is right before you right now that you are not seeing? You and I are heirs of a vast treasure, and yet sometimes we live in poverty. We're entitled to the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the energizing power that flows from them, and yet we are unaware of our birthright. You hold in your hands now that program. It has the promise of 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. These are not gifts unavailable to be delivered to you in the future at some unknown time. These are your gifts right now. You have the gift of wisdom. Now use it and grow it. You already, right now, have the gift of understanding. Use it and expand it. You already have knowledge. Of course you have knowledge. Use it and cultivate it. You have a wonder at this world and the marvelous mysteries that it contains. Now use it and nurture that. You have reverence for all that is good and righteous. Use it and increase that sense of righteousness. And you already have the gift of right judgment. Use it and enlarge it. And every one of you has courage. You came to this school, you set yourself out, you went to work. Now use that courage and develop it. And when Father Greg spoke to you on Tuesday, he gave you keys to unlock these gifts for yourself. He handed you the keys to open this up. Remember, gasp. He encouraged you to use your gonus or your grit to help you to reach your goals. He encouraged you to set your sights high. Don't accept the mediocre or good enough. Remember, arete, excellence. And push yourself. Push yourself to use the gifts of the Spirit so that you're going to lead yourself beyond what you imagine what you could accomplish. Father Greg told you to embrace struggle. Don't push it away. Embrace the struggle. It's only through struggle that you are going to make gains. If athletes do not push themselves today beyond what they did yesterday, they will never become champions. Push yourself. Embrace the struggle. And positive attitude. If you are Mr. Yates, you might as well give it up. You're going to marinate in your own negativity, and you will never achieve. Bring your can-do attitude, and you will far past your goals. So today, right now, you and I stand at the threshold of a new academic year. And so what is it that fills your heart right now? Are you thinking about all that you lack? Are you Mr. Yates? We gather today in this church to remember how rich we are. We gather today to collect our strength and to set our sights on a year of accomplishment, a year of winning, and a year of achievement. Make it happen.